guys, so Megan here. I figured I'd do another story time, get to know me a little better. Today's a bit of a harder topic to share with you guys. I don't usually talk about this part of my life because it's hard. It's October 26, 2015 was a day that forever changed me. So, to put it in perspective, let's just start from the beginning. I was driving to Bismarck, North Dakota with my mother to go get interviewed or meet with the college softball coach there to go to school there next year. He was recruiting me, and so I was going to do my long tour of everything and see the campus. And when we left that morning, no one could have foreseen the events that happened. It was really foggy out, so foggy in fact that we couldn't see very well. Not to the point where you can't see, because I mean, we're from North Dakota, we're used to driving in bad weather. Very stubborn people out here up north, and so we were driving through Berthold, and that was a pretty bad area, and then when we got to Minot, it cleared up a bit. So that was really good, and we were just like, okay, yeah, it finally got nice out, let's continue to Bismarck. I was extremely tired. We got up pretty early to get to Bismarck in time, and I was like, Mom, can I go lay in the back seat of the car? And she's like, you know what, no, I kind of want you to stay up here with me, because she was being all sentimental, reminiscing about how, this is college and how I'm going to be going away. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll stay awake with you, and for some reason I buckled up. I never buckle up, so that was weird. Looking back on it, but yeah, I buckled up and I was like, okay, let's go figure this out. The roads look clear, we're good to go. Yeah, it's really crappy out, but I was so excited to see where the day was gonna bring me that I couldn't wait. I was so excited. Then all of a sudden, we hit a patch of white fog. It was so dense, so claustrophobic, so in your face that you literally couldn't see your hand in front of your face. My mom, like I said, she's a stubborn woman. She does not ever stop driving in the middle of a storm. It can be pouring rain out where you cannot see, and this woman will keep driving forever. But for some reason, my mom was like, okay, we need to pull over. We need to pull over right now. And so we pulled over, and my mom was like, do we have room? Do we have room? Can I get over more? Can I get over more? Because you literally couldn't see. So I had to peer out the side of the window, my face is right here next to the window, and I was like, yeah, get over. And then we were trying to get over, and all of a sudden, bam, we get hit from behind, hard. I get disoriented for a good 20-30 seconds, and all of a sudden I open my eyes and we're in the ditch. All I can hear is popping, explosions in the background, and all I could smell was this toxic gas just around my face. I couldn't breathe. It was smothering how much the fumes got to me. I literally couldn't breathe, and I just look over at my mom and we need to get out. It was in October, and it was very cold out. It had just a light snow. It was frosty on the ground. And I didn't have a jacket with, well, I did, but it was in the back of the car, so I just got out quick, and I was like, Mom, you good? Making sure my mom's okay. She says she's okay, and we can't see anything. At this point in time, we don't know what direction we're in. We don't know what that popping sound is. All we can see is flames behind us. And so we just, natural instinct, get away from the flames. So we run as fast as we can in the opposite direction of the flames. At the time, no idea where we were going, couldn't see anything. As we're running, all you hear is bang, bang, bang. And that is metal on metal, deafening metal on metal. Car hitting car, and all you can hear is people screaming, and then you look behind to see what's going on, and you can't see anything but flames and fire because it's so white out. In that moment, I didn't know what to do. I was a 17-year-old kid. No one should be put in a situation like that, a car accident like that. And all of a sudden I remember, we didn't have any phones. We left the phones in the car. And these two guys who we find out later were actually the ones that hit us initially come running out behind us too, and he's got a cell phone. So first thing I do is call my grandma and grandpa, and I'm like, hey, we were just in a car accident, like, we don't know what's going on. I wasn't crying, like, I was very put together, and I was just like, hey, like, panic mode, like, we need to get this, like, figured out, like, call the cops, call somebody, tell them to come, like, get us, like, we need to get this figured out, like, make sure my sisters are okay, because they were taking care of them that morning, and just get them to school. Don't let them know what's going on, because we don't want to freak them out. Just, like, want you to know that we're safe if you hear about this on the news. And then all of a sudden I was like, Mom, like, we have to have our cell phones. Like, we cannot rely on these two guys' cell phones. And she was like, okay, well, how are we going to get them? And I was like, honestly, like, I was fast. I was really fast at the time. I was like, I'm going to run back to the car and I'm going to get them. And the smoke or the air or whatever the fog was clearing up at this point in time. And all we can see is semi-trucks, tanks, semi-tanks, which in North Dakota isn't uncommon, but if you know that there's a fire and you know that there's tanks and we don't know what's in the tanks, it is scary, because at any second we thought that the trucks were going to blow up, because we already heard the tires blowing up. My mom's like, you can't do it. Like, no, I'm not gonna let you. And I'm like, Mom, we don't have any coats. I don't have any shoes on. We don't have phones. We're going back and I'm getting this, like, stuff. And I just didn't give her an option to say anything, and I just, like, sprinted back to the car. And when I was in the car, ironically, the song Bad Day, you know, the American Idol song, like, you had a bad day, you take it one down. Yeah, that song was playing on the radio. It's a very old song. I don't know why it was on the top, like, 100, like, pop countdown, but that's the song that was playing as I was grabbing everything out of my car, and I was like, this is awesome. But then, as I was grabbing everything out of the car, I see this shadow being pulled out of one of the, I couldn't tell at the time if it was a semi or a car or what it was, but I knew it was right by the fire. And I saw people running to it, and I was like, you guys, like, you can't run there, like, come back. And they're like, no, there's a man here. And I was like, crap, okay. And all of a sudden I just see this shadow of a body being pulled out of a car, and the body's pretty limp, but there's 4 people holding it, so it's really hard to tell. And my mom's an ER nurse. She's very good at her job. And so I grab everything that we need, I run back to the field, and I get my mom, and I'm like, Mom, there's a guy over there. Like, he's hurt. Like, we need to help him. My mom's panicking. She's freaking out. She's crying. She's like, we need to get Grandma and Grandpa on the phone. We need to figure things out. Megan, are you okay? And I'm just like, Mom, stop. There's a man. He needs your help. He's not doing okay. We need to go help him. So Mom and I run over to him. She wouldn't let me look at the body because she could tell right away that it wasn't okay. So then I went back to my car, like where the car area was, to try to get more things out of it, when I see this little girl sitting there, and her face is just full of blood. And I'm like, honey, like, are you okay? And, like, she's with her mom and her dad, and they were just like, yeah, she just hit her face on the front of the seat. She's gonna be fine. But, like, they were pretty shook up. And all I remember is this little girl's face just bloody. And then my mom comes back running to me, and she's full of blood. And I'm like, Mom, where did this come from? She's like, that man over there, he didn't make it. She's like, I did everything I could. Like, there's no way. Like, he's not responsive. And I was just like, okay, like, all right, when we went the punches, like, there's one person down, but, like, there's this little girl here who needs help. So, like, we helped wipe up her blood and got that taken care of. And then all of a sudden, it was weird. I see this shadow come out of the wreckage, and he looked very familiar. It was this big, broad shadow. And I just, like, stare at it, and I'm like, Mr. Bartz? Mr. Bartz is my weight teacher back in Stanley. I'm like, Mr. Bartz, is that you? And I, like, screamed it. And I was like, hey, Mr. Bartz. And he, like, comes walking over to me, staggering over to me. And he's like, hey, like, I was like, hey, are you okay? Like, first initially, like, making sure he's okay. And he's like, yeah. And then he just, like, looked so disoriented. And I was like, Bartz, that man over there is dead. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do we do? And he just goes, hey, that man was my friend. I was like, okay. So, like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to do in this situation. Like, mind blown that you even knew the guy who he just pulled out of the car. Because, like, I didn't recognize the guy. I don't know who he is. And then he just staggered off. And I didn't see him until the ambulances came. But then it started to lighten up. The fog did. an ambulance started to come, and we could see more of what was going on. Like, I can see it in my head perfectly. So I'm starting from left to right. There's a black pickup that is completely crushed in, and then there's a semi-truck that it hit, and then that semi-truck hit a black car, and that black car hit my car, which drove us into the ditch. And then in front of my car, where it would have been directly in front of my car on the road if we wouldn't have gone to the ditch, is a crumpled up piece of metal. I now know it was a vehicle, but it didn't look like a vehicle at the time. And then there was a semi tipped over in the middle of the road. There was a van that had swerved into the ditch and was hit down there. And then I believe there was one more car out in front of the semi that had tipped over. I believe overall there was 9 cars involved in the car accident. All of a sudden, fire trucks start coming, ambulance start coming. Everybody got rushed to the hospital except for me and my mom, because we were the only ones that didn't have any injuries. We were the very middle car of the accident, yet like we didn't have a single injury. I don't know. News stations, they wanted to hear from us. They called us the heroes of the wreck, because my mom and I like ran back into the wreck and like helped pull this man out and like tried to like help him. And so they were calling us heroes, all this stuff. And then I kept getting these notices on my phone saying like, oh my gosh, you're late for first period, like you're late for second period, you haven't gotten to third period. So I called this one. I'm like, hey, like I was just in a car accident, you need to stop calling me. This is not like, you need to stop marking me absent. This is not okay. Like I was just in a car accident. And they're like, Megan, like, are you okay? And she's like, Megan, like, I'm praying for you. Like, are you okay? That's first thing that matters. And I'm like, yeah, but like somebody died. And like, I don't know who it is, but like somebody died. And she's like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, we'll get it figured out. I'll stop having Alice send you the alerts. All of this stuff. And then the alert stopped and the smoke cleared up. And all of a sudden I look over and there's the crumpled piece of metal that I was talking about. And I see a Stanley Blue Jay on it. And I know the only people that can drive those cars are employees of Stanley High School. And Mr. Bartz was there earlier, if you remember me saying, and he said he was with a friend. In that moment, I knew that it had been another teacher who was killed in the accident. And I went up to my mom and I was like, hey, who, like, do you remember who it was? And like my mom was very close to the gentleman that it is, and she was like, I didn't recognize him. And I go, Mom, it was a teacher at my school. And she looks over to my other friend Logan, who happened to be driving up on the scene, so she was there. And she's like, Logan, do you remember what the guy looked like? And they go, well, and then they both stopped talking, because right in that moment all 3 of us knew that it was Mr. Enget, who had passed away. And I instantly dropped to the ground, and I just started crying. I hadn't cried a single tear until that moment, and it all just hit me at once, like the severity of like how bad this was, how everyone's lives are going to be changed, because Mr. Enget was not just a teacher, he was the coach, the athletic director, the everything of Stanley. Like, he was the glue that held the town together. It was so tough. So then we were super shaken up. Obviously, we had just been in that accident, and Logan is too shaken up to drive. My mom had her boyfriend at the time couldn't get us, and Logan's car wasn't actually in the accident. Like I said, she drove up on it. So I volunteered, because I was the most composed out of anybody. I volunteered to drive us back all the way to Stanley, which was like an hour away from where we were at. And I drove us all the way back home to Stanley, and Logan and I walked into the school, and they had told everybody what had happened, because they found out, and they just like, it was so surreal. So surreal. I guess what had caused the accident was that semi-truck that I was talking about that was tipped over at the front of the accident was holding anhydrous ammonia. He had just dumped it off, so that awful smell that I had smelled, and that blinding white smoke or whatever, the gas was all anhydrous ammonia. Basically, if he wouldn't have unloaded it when he did, every single one of us would have been dead, because anhydrous ammonia, if you're not familiar with it, is extremely toxic and kills you within like an inhale. So we're very fortunate for that to happen. I'm also extremely fortunate because, like I said, my mom is stubborn. She never stops driving, but for some reason, she pulled over. And if she wouldn't have pulled over, we were literally 10, 20 feet from hitting the back of Mr. Enget and Mr. Bart's car. And then the car behind us would have smashed us. And I can't imagine how many more injuries there would have been, if not alone more fatalities. So yeah, I guess the point of me sharing this story is that everything happens for a reason. A normal day can turn into a really crummy day really quickly. An exciting day where I'm looking into the future can turn into a day that's ending the life of someone that I care about, someone who meant so much to me. I just want you guys to like take out of this video, like live every day to like the fullest. Don't ever take anything for granted, because you never ever know when things are gonna change. And always follow your gut. Whatever you believe in, whatever it is, if you have a feeling that something's not right, that you need to do something, like always follow that instinct, because it's there to help you. Like, I don't know, guys. So yeah, sorry I got super emotional there, but as you can tell, that affected me a lot, and it's really changed the person I am today, being in an incident like that. And so I just wanted to share with you guys and like show you a different side of me, because you guys see the singing, funny, crazy Megan so far, and you haven't really seen this vulnerable side of me. So I figured I'd show that. If you liked what you heard, or if you want more stories like this, because I've got quite a few more stories to get you thinking, like, subscribe, comment, all of those things. Tell your friends about me. If this video impacted you at all, please share it. Love every moment of every day, because you never know when the next turn's gonna come and it's gonna end it. Thanks, guys.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper